G'day guys, Solid here. Time for another Q&A. You know how these work. I just grab a bunch of questions off YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, my emails, and answer them as best as I can. I still don't get it. Why didn't you buy a WR450 and opted for a CRF300L? Which is faster than that of Yamaha? I'm not sure whether you're winding me up because you know me well and you know the answer. The better bike is always down to the person. That's why you never find me saying this is the best bike in the universe or this is the best bike in the universe, because it really does come down to the person and the personal needs of the purchaser. So in my case, I have actually ridden a WR450F. I acknowledge it's a fantastic bike, comes with decent suspension, more power than I'm ever going to need, and is lighter as well than the CRF300L. So it's got a lot of stuff going for it. But at the same time, it's in a different category. It's like saying, why did I buy my little Honda Jazz when I could have got a Porsche 911 Turbo? I mean, the things are so different that they're not even in the same class. So it was never a consideration. So let's try and answer this one with some seriousness. What's really important to me out of a motorcycle is being comfortable, confident, and longevity in the saddle. So those are the things that the 300 met that the WR450 just didn't. The WR450F is significantly more expensive. It requires an awful lot of upkeep because it's an enduro. You're doing oil changes far more regularly. Now, yes, I do admit you can stretch those intervals out. You can make modifications to increase the oil capacity and therefore the oil change and service intervals, but it's more time and money, and you're still nowhere near as close to a Dualsport as I would like to be. Realistically, I've ridden one and I know that bike far exceeds my current skill set. So the 300L made a lot of sense for me because it was affordable, reasonably comfortable for a Dualsport, very versatile, and I could ride for a long time and not get tired because I tend to do long day rides on multi-day camping trips, and the CRF300L was just a great bike for that. And on top of all that, it's just light enough and just powerful enough to be great in the slow technical single track as well. So I really appreciate what that bike has to offer, and for me at the moment it is my ideal motorcycle. So it can do absolutely everything, whereas the WR450F, to do lots of things on that bike you really do have to start modifying it quite heavily. It's limited by its 5-speed gearbox, those regular service intervals. It's very good at a specific thing, but at a wide range of things not so much. The next question is from Eva Latoro. The G650GS Sertao is more versatile than the 300L. It really does depend on your perspective and what you're wanting out of a bike. Versatility wise, I think both bikes are very versatile. They just come at the Dualsport or adventure world from slightly different angles. The 300L taking the light, do anything Dualsport route, whereas the Sertao is more taking the Dualsport / adventure bike, the BMW KLR 650 kind of direction, where yes, it's not the greatest for the really difficult stuff. As long as you're slow and methodical, you really can get through a lot more than you think you could, and it is a little bit better out on the open road over the 300L. I think the 300L way better in the difficult stuff. The 650 arguably better doing the adventure touring stuff. If you're doing a lot of road riding, maybe you got a pillion, or you're just the kind of guy where you're not very good at packing light or you don't want to sacrifice comfort, the 650 is probably going to be a little bit better for you. Now both bikes are going to be great as just general trail bikes without too much difficult riding. The Sertao is probably going to be more comfortable getting to the trail, but the 300L is probably going to be the more manageable and more enjoyable bike, particularly for newer riders once you get to the off-road sections. But either bike from an experienced rider with the right tires is going to have a fun time in just general off-road riding scenarios. But a very interesting take, and I can see where you're coming from. The next question is from Paul. He's saying, love the videos and the feedback. Cheers, mate. I'm after some advice for tyres for the Honda CRF300L. Initially, I'll be using the bike mainly for commuting and weekend off-roading. So I'm looking at a 50/50 tyre. Any ideas which tyre would suit me best, especially for decent mileage? Thanks in advance. Well, Paul, this one is probably a question I'm not great on, as I haven't ridden many tyres. I've maybe spent time on 4 or 5. My favorite tyre is the Pirelli MT21 Rallycross. I love that tyre for its ability to still give me decent longevity on the road, but it really is about as grippy as a tyre can get without completely sacrificing your on-road experience. Just under those tyres, I would say the D606 is pretty decent 50-50 tire. Still going to give you a lot of grip off-road, but I would argue it is a better pavement tire than the MT21 because it lasts longer. But I've found in my personal experience that the MT21 is much better in the deep sand, deep mud, where it really counts off-road. The MT21 feels to me like it has more grip. Put it to everyone, help Paul out, put down your favorite tire choice for his particular needs. Let him know what you've experienced with the tires you've had. The next question is from Jean, and it's an email, so it's a little bit of a long-winded one, so forgive me for reading most of this out. So Jean is saying, first of all, I really enjoy all your videos. Cheers, mate, I really appreciate that. I have a question on Dualsports. I'm a beginning to intermediate rider. I want to be able to do some roads and some dirt. No jumping or anything like that. I'm 55, 225 pounds and just like exploring. I may ride with other Dualsport riders on local roads and trails. He had a TW200, fun but too small and too slow. Just sold a CRF300L Rally, a little slow. I picked up an FE350S. Ride's awesome, but I don't like what the service manual is telling me it's needed. I'm considering selling it for a WR450F or a CRF300L. Would you be kind enough to share your thoughts on this? That one is a really difficult question to answer, mate. Clearly you've decided that the enduro path is too much trouble. That's what I decided for at my particular state of riding. If you're really wanting affordable, you're happy to mod the suspension, and you want a great light flickable little trail bike that can do absolutely everything, 300L. If you're wanting it a little more gruntier, you're wanting to get your hands on it immediately, and you want all the modifications already done, the DRZ is going to be a fantastic choice. And if you want to go balls to the wall and get the most capable Dualsport out on the market, or at least the most high-end Dualsport on the market, there's the KTM 690/Husqvarna 701. So I was editing away and I almost forgot the Kawasaki KLX300. That should definitely be on your list, mate, as that's quite a capable little Dualsport, very similar to the CRF300L, so check that out as well. Hope that helped, mates. Enjoy the trails and let me know how you go. The next question is from CM off Instagram, and he's saying, you have some great content. Cheers, mate, appreciate it. Hoping you could recommend a bike for my purposes. Looking to do some exploring when I'm camping and cruise the trails near my campsite. Looking for street legal connecting trails, and because I'm in California, not looking to do much on-road. I'm 6'5", 210 pounds and 53 years older. New rider, maybe I'm too old to start. Haha, I'd say go for it. It's never too late to start, and welcome to the tribe of off-road riders. So you've suggested a small electric bike, the Chiron Electrics. I'm not too familiar with those bikes, and I'm also not too sure if you can get them road legals. That might be a little bit of a problem if you're actually wanting to link trail to trail and get out on the open road. The Honda seems like the stock suspension is too soft for my size. Maybe the Kawasaki too. The 300L, yeah, you're a big bloke at 6'5", and the 300L does have famously soft suspension. Now, it does depend what you're doing. You can bump up the preload on the rear to kind of address some of that, but you're still gonna have the front forks, which are non-adjustable. It'll be a very plush ride, but if you're starting to do any kind of real technical off-road terrain, you're gonna find the limits to that suspension pretty quickly. So you can address that with upgrading the springs in the front, bumping up the preload in the rear. But again, if you're just wanting to get a bike, not think about that stuff and just hit the trails, it's probably not going to be the bike for you. But if you're happy to tweak the suspension, maybe upgrade it a bit, it can be a great bike. But given that you're in America, like you said, you have access to the KLX300, it does have better suspension than the 300L. Not only is it a little more firmer straight out of the box, it's also more adjustable. So you have adjustability in the front as well as the rear on the KLX. Light enough to stick on the back of a camper. It's got enough power to sit on the road to link up trails as well, but it's also small enough to be great in the tight technical stuff. That could really be an option. You also say there's Husky FE350s and KTM variants. I think you've identified that they're kind of expensive if you're just doing trail exploring and you're not really going hardcore riding. If you've got any suggestions for CM, chuck them down below, because like I said, I'm not the best guy to ask about this, because this really isn't a scenario or type of riding I do where I trailer my bike to the trails. So there's a whole other set of things that I'm sure you need to consider in a bike that I'm really not clued into. So help him out in the comment section below, and 2 thumbs up from me. Get out there and enjoy it. Don't worry about your age. The next comment is from Federico. Great video. Cheers, mate. I'm still on my first bike, a small sport naked 150cc's, and I'm starting to get into doing longer trips and even took it on some mud tracks on street tyres. Nice work, mate. It's great to see you found a love of off-road riding and you haven't let it stop you being on a street bike. I'd encourage you to just get out there and enjoy the dirt roads, mate. It's a lot of fun. I was really confused about these three categories, talking about Dualsport, adventure bike and enduro, and you answered all my questions. I'm really happy that helped. That's why I made the video, to try and demystify those three categories, as it really is an argument of semantics. For my next bike, I'll probably look for a 250 to 300cc Dualsport. I just wanted to encourage you to get out there, grab a Dualsport motorcycle. It really just opens up your experiences on a motorcycle. Glad that you found that the dirt's where you're meant to be. Until next time, guys, get out there and enjoy the trails, but of course, don't forget to stay shiny side up, and I'll see you in the next one. Catch you later.